Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar tonight. How to create momentum in the foreign language classroom, how to create momentum in the world language classroom. My name is Diego Ojeda. I'm a Spanish teacher in Louisville, Kentucky. I currently teach two sections of Spanish 4, one section of AP language, and one section of AP literature. So I've been teaching in the United States for 25 years, and I've been teaching for 34 years overall. I'm originally from Colombia, and I have had the pleasure to teach at different levels. I had even an experience in fifth grade Spanish, and then I taught middle school. I teach high school, and that's kind of like my thing, high school. But I also taught at technical colleges in Wisconsin and Madison Technical College and UW Madison, which is the Wisconsin university that is located in different places in the state. So I'm saying this because this has allowed me to have gained perspective on how we do things in our classroom. So the time plus the experience teaching in different scenarios gives you an idea of what the students, the community, and the administration want from your class. It gives me an idea of what I want as a teacher from my classes, from my program, from pretty much, teaching world languages in the United States. So I think that it's critical that we talk about momentum in the foreign language classroom because we probably have good starts, but at some point we might feel that, the class is not where we want it to be when we go halfway through the class or something like that. So let's get started. Here we go. Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. First, we're going to highlight why a strong start is crucial for maintaining momentum. We think about momentum as something that goes in the middle, maintain the tone, but it is very important and equally important to start strong. And to start strong doesn't mean to start with a lot of work, but to start with meaningful things. Then we're going to talk about how to emphasize the importance of varying class activities so we keep our students engaged. And then we talk about providing some practical strategies to end classes in an effective way so the students can stay motivated. So, um, I would like you guys to please write in the chat the answer to this question. Which one of these goals, these are kind of goals, objectives of my presentation, resonates most with your current teacher challenges? So, which one of these, one, two, or three, resonates the most with your current teaching challenges? So, if you would like to please write down in the chat, I'll read you. Okay. All right. So, we have number two. So, when we talk about the importance of different activities in the class to keep students engaged, three, closing, three, closing, three. Okay. Wow, looks like three is a very popular one. And two, again, another three, and then two, three, two. Okay, wow, now two is winning. Well, we have a lot of votes for two, but it's between two and three. And someone says here, two, especially because I have students every day in a row sometimes. Every day in a row, which means that it's like every day. Or are we talking about the physical rows? Or every day we have students and the same students? Maybe that. I don't understand very well. But it's between every year. Oh, okay, I see. So you have the same students year after year. That's what you mean. I guess that's what you mean. For like 5 years. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is very interesting. Um, to me, I have them for the most for 3 years. And that creates a very uh, interesting and sometimes challenging situation to have the students for so many years. It can be good, but sometimes cannot be as good. So great. We're talking about emphasizing the importance of different class activities, which is great because I'm going to share with you today 5 models of how to distribute the class. And then I'm also going to suggest some practical activities to end classes in an effective way. Okay, excellent. Thank you for your participation. So why is important momentum? Why momentum matters? It is important because when we talk about momentum, we're talking about sustaining energy and engagement throughout the class. So I always talk about the analogy of the electrocardiogram. So when we go and have an electrocardiogram made to us, we see the results, and on the paper, you see that there are peaks, that there are valleys, and sometimes it's a little down, but it's kind of like a constant variation. So that's what is showing is a visual of how your heart is behaving. So we want to see those peaks, those valleys, those downs, but we don't want to see a flat line because the moment we see a flat line, that means that our heart is not working. So there's lack of energy. So let's keep in mind that always first, our class must consist on those peaks and valleys and sometimes why not low moments, but if we keep different peaks, valleys and different peaks throughout the class, that's something that is going to help us with our lesson plans. We know how our students react to different type of activities and or situations in the class because showing a video, a 10 minutes video, is not precisely an activity, but it's a situation in the class that those kind of things can work too. Now, not all the students are going to like the same activities, but what they really like is the change, especially in a language class. Targeting the language from different perspectives. I had a student recently in a parent-teacher conference that when I asked him in front of his parents, okay, what's something that you find interesting in this class? What's something that you really like? He said, this is the first time that I have a Spanish class where you have a topic and then you feel that señor is me, that señor is going through that topic from different angles in different ways. And that's what sticks to our mind. That's what works with my motivation. That I know that it's not going to always be the exercise on paper. I know that it's not always going to be a dictation. I know that it's not always going to be having a conversation with a partner, but that we try to engage on that topic from many different angles. And as he says, that helps with acquiring the language and that also helps with motivation. So, question for you. Listen, can you recall a moment in your class where the energy dropped? Can you tell me what probably caused that? Again, can you recall a moment in any class where the energy dropped? And what do you think caused that drop of energy at that moment? Okay, let's think about it. Okay, I'll read you on the chat. Okay. Mhm. Okay. So Carmen says C, and she says lack of interactive activities. Interaction. So when we talk about interaction, we talk about um, acting or connecting with different things, right? It can be with partners, or it can be with a movie or an audio or different kind of things, interactive activities. We had been doing the same for too long, okay? And this can happen because sometimes the programs mandate that. Oh my gosh, my battery is dying. I'm sorry. I have to connect my computer. Okay. Um, Going from a game to a work paper. I cannot say that second part of that word because it sounds weird. So I say work paper. So going from a game to a work paper, fun to practice. The reading in AP was too hard and kids felt stuck, okay? Doing Canvas activities, filling in the blank, doing the same activity for too long. I think when there's a change of activities, when one is fun and engaging and the next is not so much, the energy and engagement drops. Okay, introducing a new tense in Spanish. Okay, okay. So the idea here is not that we need to keep them um, interested in a fun way always, right? The idea is that we move a little faster from one thing to the other. When we talk about work papers, exercise on a piece of paper, maybe we need to consider the quantity of activities that they have to do. But I do still believe that that kind of activity is worth it and it's helpful for the students, but not every day, of course. I will encourage you to change it a little bit. Like, for example, instead of like the question where the students need to conjugate the verb in the right person, subject, or whatever, or tense, let's give them a bigger context. So when they have a context, then you can work with the same grammar topic or a specific topic, but you can ask true or false questions, for example. You can ask multiple choice questions. You can do fill in the blank with a word bank type of activity. We can do matching, okay? And when the student gets a matching activity versus getting the typical work paper, that makes a difference. And you're gonna say, well, no one has time to do all that kind of work. Well, of course, no one has time, but guess what do we have? Guess what? We have Chat GPT, and Chat GPT is really good for that kind of thing. Give Chat GPT a paragraph and tell, give me 20 true false questions and give me the answers, right? So you know the answers, okay? But you're not going to show the answers to the students. Okay, then give the students the paper individually or in pairs. Okay, we're going to do this. They like that true and false. For them, it results a little easier than the common activities that we usually do. And then we're going to explain why those that are false are false. But let's do it asking for a volunteer instead of like directing the question to each one of the students. And they're going to tell us why that was false, why not. And that actually works better for acquisition than just giving the answers or in a multiple choice activity instead of just saying the answer is A, the answer is B, the answer is C. So, what I'm trying to say here is that we don't have to change everything. We don't have to uh, fill our classes with just games the whole time to keep them uh, motivated. No, the game should exist. Yeah, fun activities should be there, but not always. And sometimes it's our own fault because sometimes we get them used to the games, and that's what they expect. And the moment we don't do the games anymore, they start asking, why don't we have games? This is boring. We, from the beginning, we need to start giving them a variety of activities. Okay, so the importance of a strong start. So There are some key characteristics of a strong start. First, that it's engaging from the first moment. And we'll talk about that when I give you some examples later on. Meaningful relates to their interests and goals. But remember that one of their goals is to acquire the language. We always think, when we think about interests and goals, we always tend to think about what they like and what they don't like, right? So, okay, these kids like football, American football. So I'm gonna try to do my activities based on American football. Okay, these kids like, I don't know what music they listen these days. Let's say Bon Jovi. It's probably not Bon Jovi, okay? But let's say that they like Bon Jovi. So I'm going to, bring up an activity where I have slides with Bon Jovi in concert, and maybe we're gonna listen to Bon Jovi's music. So we try to, relate to the students in that sense. But the reality is that it is more successful when we help our students create interests that are based on what we bring every day to the class. If we bring culture and we have discussions about culture and they start opening their world to different cultures, that's going to become an interest to them. And their goals, I want to learn this language, I want to be fluent in this language, and not necessarily trying their world to our classroom. So, a strong start is also relevant in the sense that it has to connect with prior knowledge, and not just language prior knowledge, but also knowledge that they have acquired, yes, in other subjects, but as well outside of the classroom. The knowledge that they bring with them from their own personal experiences with their families. So, in that sense, we need to open our classes to what they are, their identity, and not always try to just talk about the identity of the people in Spanish class in the Hispanic world. No, let's start from their own identity. Okay? So these are the characteristics of a very strong start. And we have different activities for that. So a question to consider here is, should warm-ups review past content or focus on language use? Should warm-ups. So what is a warm-up? Warm-up is an activity that we do at the beginning of the class. Usually these warm-ups are related to grammar or vocabulary. The question is, what is most important? Is most important the review of grammar and vocabulary at the beginning of the class? Or is more important to focus on language use? Because when we're writing on a piece of paper, that's not really language use. When we talk about language use, we're talking about the oral aspect of the language. How many times do we start the class as a conversation, as an informal conversation, meaning the way the students want to start any class, but the thing is that they want to do it in their native language, right? They come to the classroom and they start talking to each other about something that's going on at school or something that they have in common, whatever, and that's the moment where we say, okay, guys, please be quiet. Why don't we take that kind of like hint and start having a conversation, informal conversation, trying to use the target language about something that is not even related at this point with the grammar that you're working or the vocabulary that you're working, but that somehow connects them and interests them. So, what kind of start do we want? Okay, we want to start that is very structured, or do we want to start an informal or a little more playful start? Which one is better for your class? And this can look in different ways. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had a class probably 3 years ago. It was an AP literature class, and they were so chatty. And believe me, the only way where we could start strong and motivated to keep going and do something throughout the class was to allow them 5 minutes to just get out of their mouth whatever they wanted to say. Sometimes they will say it in Spanish, most of the times they will say it in English, but I took a little bit of distance in the sense that I didn't prohibit them to have this chatty conversation for 5 minutes, but they started realizing that it was 5 minutes, and after those 5 minutes, okay, chicos, vamos a empezar. Entonces, ayer estábamos hablando sobre Calderón de la Barca. ¿Qué opinan ustedes? But the transition was kind of smooth, you know? And I even got into their conversation. They were, the majority of them were seniors. And that was a great class. Yes, we had to, quotations, sacrifice the first 5 minutes, but in the end, it's almost the same as sacrificing those 5 minutes trying to shut them up and telling them, be quiet. Okay, guys, let's start. Guys, be quiet. Let's start. Okay, let's focus. Let's focus here. Okay, close those computers. All right, we're gonna start. All right, where's your book? Okay, do you? Okay, it's exactly the same. You're gonna spend 5 minutes fighting it, or you can spend those 5 minutes connecting with them. The most important thing is that they're going to feel important. They're gonna, even if you don't hear everything or you don't know what's going on, because sometimes I don't know what's going on, but I look interested, they appreciate that and then they respond. So let's talk about how to structure the class flow. So I have the 20 minutes rule. My classes are 75 minutes long, okay? But regardless of that, the 20-minute rule can help. So no activity should last more than 20 minutes to maintain engagement. But be careful. Again, if the activity is to complete conjugations on a piece of paper, okay, uh, what I'm saying here is that we need to make that activity interesting. The true false, the multiple choice, the fill in the blanks, the matching. Let's make it different, okay? Because if it's only 20 minutes of the regular classic work paper that we give to our students, that's the end of the class. There has to be some kind of variation. You can even work with the same paragraph for 3, 4 classes in different formats that helps them acquire the language, but at the same time, it distracts them and they think that they are doing something different that is not monotonous or repetitive. So 20 minutes rule, okay? Now, if it's a game, let's say a game that we play in the whiteboard, on the whiteboard, let's say Matamoscas, Fly Swatter, then easily 20 minutes, we survive 20 minutes with that kind of activity. Or if we do um, Avalanche, it's Avalanche where uh, uh, they make lines in front of the board and they take turns conjugating a verb. And if they are wrong, the teacher says avalanche, avalanche, and they have to correct. And it's very, uh, active. 20 minutes, it's good. But we need to find the way to make those activities that are a little less engaging or fun to them different. So let's visualize a sample flow for a 60 minutes class. So we start the warm up, the activity. Okay, let's say informal conversation with the students. Buenos días, clase. ¿Cómo están? ¿Bien? ¿Mal? ¿Estás bien? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué estás bien? Sorry to the French teachers here. Why are you okay? Yeah, no, I slept well. Good for you. Who else slept well here? Okay, by the way, for how many hours do we sleep? What? 6 hours? What do you do? What time you go to bed? What? At 1 a.m.? What do you do until 1 a.m.? You talk to your girlfriend? You watch movies? What do you do? I do homework. Man, you need to sleep more than 4 hours. You need to sleep more. Okay, that kind of conversation that it's not focused on a particular topic but that is connecting us to the students because you keep going with whatever they're giving you so they feel connected to you. So it can be that kind of warm-up activity, 5, 10 minutes, but the cool thing is that you are already in the target language if you can maintain it in the target language. If you cannot maintain it in the target language, combine a little bit of English here and the target language and somehow use it wherever you can so they get that input. Then we have activity one. That activity one should be in this case, in this example, it's not that it has to be always like this, and a group activity. And when I talk about group activity, I'm talking about couples, or I'm talking about at least, at the most, I'm sorry, 3 students. So we engage them on a task that they can do as a group immediately. Be careful. How do we start our classes usually? Usually, okay, if we give a warm-up activity, we usually give it on paper and they have to answer the traditional paper, right? And then we explain the lesson and then they have to practice more, or we simply start the class with the lesson right away. But it's important to give them the chance to work together from the beginning. So 15, 20 minutes, a task that is not that long. And this, the mini break. How many of you give them a break? Mm, This is a 60 minutes class. So the mini break, 3 minutes. My classes are 75 minutes. The break is 5 minutes. Sometimes I have read here or there that a great break is a brain break. Well, what kind of break is that for the teacher? That mini break should be a break for the teacher as well. So, well, allow them to stretch, allow them to get up, walk, check their next class notes or whatever, talk to the friend next to them. 3 minutes. But that break really re-energizes them. And then we have another activity, an activity that can be interactive or an individual task for 15 or 20 minutes. So then the class time just happens really fast. Okay. Usually classes go really slow when we do not have variation, when we don't have a mix of things to do. But when you have a mix of things to do in each class, it rather goes faster. Okay. And for the closing, a wrap up and a reflection for the last 5 minutes of the class. All right. So let's think about how do we divide our class time and what changes can we make, uh, with the hope that we have for engagement. What changes can we make in our instruction, in our classes? So there are some activity models here. Model one. So structure. We start with an informal warm-up. It can be the conversation, or it can be a group reading. It can be an interactive game. So in the warm-up, they share something about their weekend. This is a common example using unit vocabulary. But the key here, you guys, is that it's not that we just ask them, what do you do over the weekend? And then they say, I went to the movies. And then, oh, good. And then the next person, what do you do? Oh, I visit my grandma. Oh, good. What do you do? I slept for 12 hours. Oh, great. What do you do? Because we think that we're maximizing the time that way. But the moment that the kid says, I went to the movies, immediately, what movie did you watch? What? Wicked? Yeah, Senor Wicked. Do you like Wicked? You know, I've never seen Wicked. I have no idea. What is it about? See? Who else likes Wicked here? Who else is gonna go see Wicked? Okay? Oh, but we're getting out of the preterite tense and we need to review the preterite tense. That's the problem. When we focus on just a grammar aspect, or when we focus on just one topic, we make the instruction really artificial, because that's not how life happens in reality. And language is life. So we need to make language as natural and real as we can. Okay? All right. So we can analyze a short text related to a lesson topic, but always kind of like connecting them with what has happened in that reading and, maximizing that approach. Okay, and we can have a game. So we have warm up, reading, game. The game can be digital. We all know that kids love Gymkit. We all know that they kind of like Quizlet. We know that they love Booklet, and that's okay. It's okay. We sometimes feel guilty because when Jim Kit asks us how long should the game be, we feel guilty if we do more than 5 minutes. Give them 10 minutes. Okay, don't give them the whole class for playing GameKit, okay? But 10 minutes is a good time. They are getting exposed to the language. I think the most important thing here is the kind of prompts that they have for the activity that they have to do. That is not only translation, but questions and answers, complete questions, complete answers, and they have to work with that. That's what really uh, helps them. Okay. Another model two, we start with a relaxed start. Look, in the last one, we talk about starting with an informal warm up. Here we talk about starting with a relaxed start. So a relaxed start means that we give them a little bit of time for them to self-care. It can be with background music. It can be with a beautiful image that we project, and we can have a little conversation while we listen to that music, or we can talk about the image. It's relaxed in the sense that um, the students can choose a place in the classroom where they can feel a little relaxed. So 5 minutes of this relaxed start goes a very, very long way. We can have them then pair share, review key concepts for the class. We can have them creating a group skit using structures or studied phrases that we have worked on during the different classes. And then they can share the skit with the class. Okay, so changing different things, going from one thing to the other, not just the whole class dedicated to put together the conversation and then present, and that's the only activity, or not just the class dedicated to presenting a project that they have worked on. Okay. Another great way to start is with the teacher uh, doing storytelling. But storytelling is not always coming up with a fictional story. I mean, yes, can be, but I'm not saying that you have to tell them a story that has been written for someone else, or a book or a novel. Someone wrote that they teach AP class and that they struggle with the readings. Way a way to help our students in any level, but even the AP students, is for you to take those language components, either structures or key vocabulary, and incorporate it on a storytelling that you do at the beginning of the class, and you kind of like tell them anything, right? So, like for example, if we're talking about traveling, I remember telling them, oh, okay, mi hermano Carlos. So I wrote Carlos and I draw a stick figure because I cannot draw well. Le gusta mucho viajar y él siempre viaja a Louisville para visitar a mi hija Sofía. Él toma un vuelo de American Airlines que tiene una escala en Miami y en esa escala él espera unas 2 horas y después toma otro vuelo. Ok, voy insertando. I start putting those words: vuelo, escala, equipaje, reserva, agencia de viajes, agente de viajes, la aduana, in the story with my brother. So in other words, I'm also talking about characters, using characters. Like, Profe Carmen, who's here with us tonight, she uses characters in all of her instruction, and it's very successful because the kids start connecting with that particular character. I like to bring characters that are real, like for example, my brother or my sister or my mom or my dad. And the reason why I bring that is because I remember, I mean, I know them very well, so I don't have to remember what I said the class before about my brother because he's my brother. And in the next class, I'm gonna be using my mom. So same thing. I know exactly what I have told them about my mom. But bringing either a real character or a fictional character like Profe Carmen, it's really interesting and it connects the student. And it's another way to start the class, telling that story. And then they get engaged because while you're talking to them about what's going on with Carlos, you can ask questions to the students. So, who has traveled outside of the country? Who has flown American Airlines? What airline have you flown? See, where would you like to go flying? Are you afraid of flying? Because my brother Pipo, Carlos, I call him Pipo, he's a chicken and he is so afraid of flying that he has to take a couple of pills before he gets into the airplane. All right? So this storytelling also can be a personal uh, anecdote, sorry, but something that you can make up or that really happened to you. But when you are in the middle of that storytelling, or someone that you know is in the middle of that storytelling, that connects and engages the students. Okay, we talk about the activities with true false, and then we can show them a video. This is not a set order. You can uh the beginning, I will suggest to do the beginning the way I'm suggesting here in the three different models so far, but the other ones you can change. The videos, very short, okay? A video that is more than 6 minutes and 35 seconds, it's a lot. And they start losing focus. The idea with the videos is to allow them to watch the videos without any distractors. And by distractors, I mean a guide. We are so good about giving them guides while they watch the videos so they can start answering questions based on what they're watching. That makes them a little stressed out and that makes them just focus on when they kind of hear what could be the possible answer to the question that they have in front of them, and that usually makes them hate the activity. So I allow them to watch the video, just watch, just try to understand, try to focus on the language to see what words you recognize, and then talk about it. Talk about the place, talk about the people in the video. Bring vocabulary, okay, but afterwards, that should be used every video as a motivator. Now, whole movies in the class, that's a different animal because the whole movie is so long that it can be interesting. What they always ask you to show them in Spanish class. Can we watch Coco? Okay, why? See, in the past were other movies. I don't even remember. But now these days is can we watch Coco? That's the question. Well, songs are in English, right? Or they are in Spanish, but they probably see them 1,000 times in English. That when we bring a movie that they don't know that we think is important to our topic, the level of focus can be a little challenging. And I don't know how much really we do showing 2 hours of the same thing versus showing them maximum 10 minutes video that will talk about the same topic and we can focus them more. Okay. All right. Modelo tres or model number 4. We have starting with teacher's reflection about something. Hey, we have life experiences, and we don't always have to refer to the textbook to talk about something. Let's help them also realize important, meaningful, and sometimes deep things connected to life. If we can do it using the target language, great. But how many times do we share those reflections that we have learned through our experience in life with our students? That is not a moment where we're trying to, you know, teach them a lesson, but just out of nowhere. So, for example, today, um, there's this video where this kid se enamora de una chica, pero la chica no sabe. He falls in love with this girl, but the girl doesn't know. And to my students, that was impossible. I'm like, how can he be in love with her if she doesn't even know? I'm like, guys, come on. What? What? Really? It's an ideal love. It's a platonic love. And what? And say, well, you know who Plato was? And I told them about Plato and about his ideal world that it was called Hyperuranius, and how he thought that there are two worlds, one that is the real one and another one that is a reflection of that real world. And I say that kid is in on that world, on that reflection. The girl is in the real world, so she doesn't know. It's ideal. And we start talking about that, and we share stories from the beginning. Okay, how this topics is relates to your life as the teacher. They are always so interested in knowing a little bit more about you. Sometimes we are a little worn, a little hesitant to share about who we are. And in reality, we don't have to be that detailed with our lives or tell intimate stories, but we can share our life and that really connects them. Okay. So we can have them doing some research based on whatever we have been reflecting on, finding facts that we're going to share then. And then we share those facts and then we play a game, any kind of game, and then we finish. Okay. Y the next model is starting with students' presentations. If they have to present on a project, we can start with student presentations, but there are two things. First, always allow the students to choose. Do you want this to be your real presentation, or do you want this to be considered your trial? You're gonna rehearse presenting and then you can present for real. Sometimes they say, yeah, I'm gonna do it right away. Sometimes, yeah, can I just do a practice one? And I'm fine. You can do a practice one, and then after two students, you can come back and do your real one. But that gives them ownership and trust and confidence. There's something else that I do when we do student presentations. I tell them, hey guys, in this presentation, in every presentation, we're going to work as a class. So, class, I want you to listen to the presentation, but I also want you to take a look at the slides, take a look at what is written in the slides, if there's something written in the slides, and then at the end, let me know if there's something that we could be changing to make it better. And obviously, this is a conversation that I have with them at the beginning of the year, so the person presenting is not gonna feel offended, but they're gonna be, oh, okay, yeah, I misspelled that word, or I didn't conjugate well here because this was a reflexive verb. But allow the students to point at those things. I believe that sometimes those moments are 10 times better than a grammar uh, traditional lesson because it comes from them and then they kindly uh, point at the things that can be changed to make the presentation better. And then the students can decide if they want to do it later on. Okay, that's what I call the collective analysis. Um, then groups can summarize the key points from the lesson based on the presentations that we have done. We also not just talk about the mistakes, but we also talk about the good things that this person presented, what they like about whatever they presented. And then we combine those presentations with the key concepts that we bring to the class. Okay, going back to breaks. So the role of mini breaks. Suggested timing is 3 minutes for every 30 minutes class. If your class is 90 minutes, well, we could have 9 minutes break, 8 minutes break, but usually it's between 3 and 5 minutes. But at least 5 minutes in those classes that are 70 or more minutes long. We know that these breaks are going to improve focus, is going to reduce fatigue from the students, and is going to re-energize the classroom. When we start over after the break, it's just like a new start. They are ready. And some example activities, some things that we can do is allow them to stretch. So sometimes they just do this on their desks. They say, guys, stretch, come on, and you're stretching too. See? Hey guys, talk to each other 2 seconds for 3 minutes. Or just let's do a short mindfulness exercise. Let's listen to some music. Let's breathe. So let's really, really take the time to have that break. Closing strategies. So an interactive summary. So each student will share a word or idea that they learn, but each one of them. So this is a collective thing, and they can go on the board and write something that they learn instead of doing it individually on a piece of paper and then we collect all those papers. Practical application. Students create a sentence using new vocabulary. Also, this can be done in group. See how it's different when we have an exit ticket that is individual. Mm, and we do that because we were taught that, this is a way for the student to show that they learned something in the class. But that can happen in Plato's world, right? In reality, some kids get it, some kids didn't get it. When we allow them to work with another person or in groups to do these closing strategies, they learn, they review, they think, oh, this is the way it is. Why? Because it wasn't the teacher who told them. It wasn't through ink, red ink on a piece of paper that they worked together. Okay. And something that we don't do enough is a preview of the following class. So it's kind of like the news. When you're watching the news on TV and you're about to have the commercials, they give you a heads up of what's coming after commercials. So we should be giving the students a heads up of what's coming in the next classes. Uh, Ways to keep them connected, things that are related to the next topic. Okay, so it is right now. Let me see the time. Okay, 7:55. We unfortunately don't have the time to share challenges or strategies, but I want you to think what's that way where you use to create momentum in your own classes. To me, in the end, besides having different types of activities, it is also the opportunity that I have to reflect about how my students respond to different things. If we keep seeing that the students are responding in a way that we think is not motivating to them, why do we keep doing the same? I mean, it's like we ourselves dig the hole and then we throw ourselves in the hole. We cannot do that. We can change it. Uh, and in variety is where the secret is. So this webinar and other webinars that I've been presenting, sponsored by DigiLangua. This is the commercial here. DigiLangua is a platform where we can go and find tons of readings in Spanish, French, German, and Italian. So it's what I like about DigiLangua is that it's very economical. And if you use a code, Ojeda24, my last name 24, you're going to have uh, 40%, I believe it's 40% discount on the price of the yearly price of the subscription. So you end up paying for 1 year, $119, and you can have 180 students having access to all the books, and each student has their own account. So it's really good because it's not as expensive as other digital libraries that I have seen. So I want to thank you very much for being here today, uh, and for not leaving. My name is Diego Ojeda, and this is my Instagram. Let's follow each other on Instagram. This is my blog where you can find different blog posts that I'm sure that might be helpful to you on different topics. Um, so thank you so much. I really appreciate you attention and your presence here. I'm gonna stop the recording.